It's the show that's even faster and more cost effective than a Lamborghini Countach. Welcome to HQLA episode 18.
Incredible. That's crazy. That is a great introduction.
You liked that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
And it's more widely available too. There's only 112 of those that were sold, and they're all taken.
There's only 18 episodes here.
But
So
yeah,
we're
but
we're actually more exclusive, if anything.
Okay, sure. You can stream it as many times as you like, and feel free to share it with your friends.
That's true. Yeah.
Don't keep it exclusive.
Don't keep it exclusive. We're already exclusive enough.
Yeah. We naturally have a pretty exclusive vibe.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the HQLA club.
Perfect.
I can't see because of the
So
lights.
6.
It's so bright. Got to get used to that. Got to get used to the fame for when we're on, Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
The other Jimmy Fallon.
Couldn't imagine how many lights Jimmy Fallon has.
True.
Be
That'd be a
more
lot.
than 2 though, I think.
Yes, and he doesn't seem to be all blinky and
No,
confused.
he's
all
a
the time.
professional.
He is a professional. All right, so despite it being a little bit less popular in the last 6 months, Nathan, as a stock to hold, there's a good reason that Netflix is on the FANG list. So, so for those that don't know what FANG is, it's Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, and Google.
Okay.
So they're basically the biggest, baddest companies in all of Silicon Valley. They're they're all considered to be unicorns, which is something that IPOs for more than $1 billion.
Yep.
And they are all multi-$100 billion now. So in terms of market cap.
Yep.
So they were, and I think that it's often written off as not an important stock. I don't know, in my mind, in a lot of people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
But they were actually they were a first mover as a major disruptor.
Yep.
To Hollywood's traditional kind of distribution.
Yes.
So it's actually also something that I kind of had no idea. Do you have any idea of the founding story or how it?
No.
It's one of those ones.
I guess for us it felt fairly established when it came to Australia.
Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah.
to us it just always felt like a big ship. But I guess
and it's also not like Apple where you're always thinking, there's the garage and the guy with $800 and he owned 40% of it or whatever and he sold it to someone else. So Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph are the two co-founders of Netflix in 1997.
Wow.
Before that, Reed Hastings. Reed Hastings is the current CEO.
Okay.
His last company was called Pure Software, which he started in 1991.
Yeah.
And he managed to double his revenue every year until 1995.
Wow. That's cool.
So in 1995, he went public using Morgan Stanley.
Yeah.
And in 1996, he acquired a company called Atria.
Mm-hmm.
And his company was called Pure Software.
Yep.
His new company was now called Pure Atria.
Oh.
And that's where they met because Randolph worked for Atria.
Yep.
And so Hastings acquired Atria where Randolph was working.
Yep.
And Randolph became head of marketing at Pure Atria.
Yep.
And so it was a software company that focused on debugging. So in software, debugging is where you fix your problems.
Yeah.
So Pure Atria got bought for $700 million by a company called Rational Software.
Okay.
And that was the largest acquisition in Silicon Valley history at that time.
Really?
So 1997.
How much?
$700 million.
700 million. Okay.
Yeah, so that was in 1997.
Yep.
And the story is that they used to ride in the car together to get to work. So they carpooled to work.
Okay.
And during that time, they often brainstormed business ideas.
Yeah.
So they really liked Amazon, but they didn't like it that items became commoditized on Amazon.
Yeah.
So they wanted to start an e-commerce store where you rent out movies.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided that starting in the post Pure Atria kind of days, they were kind of experimenting with some ideas. And they decided that VHS tapes were too big and expensive to ship.
Yeah, okay.
And however, DVDs literally just came out, so it must have been 1997 when they came out.
Okay.
And so they test shipped a CD in its place to see if it arrived unbroken.
Yep.
So they test shipped heaps of different ideas. They ran through heaps of different packaging to make sure it wouldn't get broken when it got sent. Sent it hundreds of times.
Yep.
And then they worked out a packaging system which included a return stamp so that they could send back their discs.
Yep.
So then Hastings put down $2.5 million of his pure Atria cash.
Wow. Significant.
And let Randolph manage the day-to-day as the CEO.
Yep, okay.
So Hastings was like the consultant who occasionally was like in there working with the business.
Yep.
And they were betting on the future, which was that DVDs would replace VHS.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a theme in the company.
Yeah.
So 1994 was actually the first DVD player was created by Sony.
I might have missed this. Does this company have a name that Randolph's now the CEO of?
It's called. Actually, we'll get to that in a
sec.
Okay,
sorry. Okay, keep going.
It's interesting. So on all I've only found all the like packaging of what it looks like. So I will be up to that in a sec.
Okay,
so
sorry.
They no. Keep interrupting. It's good.
Perfect.
So 1994 was actually when the first DVD player was created by Sony.
1994.
And in 1997, the first DVD player was sold in the US.
Okay.
And it cost $1,000.
Whoa.
And
crazy.
So in 1998, this is heaps funny. They launched with 30 employees. So they launched straight out of the gate. A lot of employees.
It's not a super high tech business.
No, sending DVDs.
Yeah.
But the idea was it actually was super high tech because they had a website. I think that a lot of people take for granted 1990s.
Yeah, you're
like even late 1990s.
Yeah.
Wow, that company has a website.
True.
Like that's that's a crazy concept.
Yeah. Okay.
So they launched with 30 employees and 925 movies to rent.
Oh, that's good.
And at the time, less than 1% of American households owned a DVD player.
Yep, that's a problem.
And they were called DVD.com.
Oh, really?
So they were called DVD.com.
Cool.
And then, on all the original packaging, it looks like DVD.com, a Netflix company.
Netflix company.
So it says DVD.com, a Netflix company.
Ah.
So it looks almost like they've set up maybe their business name as Netflix maybe.
Yes.
And then...
It's just a brand or a child company within it.
Yeah. If you think about the value of, at the time, not knowing the brand names or anything like that.
Yes.
You think about the value of DVD.com as a
domain.
As a domain.
Yeah.
It's like, people are just finding out about DVDs. True. We have DVD.com.
True.
That's probably better than Netflix.com.
Absolutely.
What the heck's Netflix?
Good call. Yeah.
So I think it's actually quite clever. So it costs $4 to rent for 7 days for a DVD and $2 for shipping.
Okay.
And then as you rent additional discs, the cost would lower gradually.
Yeah.
And then you'd be paying less and less for each one.
Yeah.
And you could also pay more to keep the discs for longer.
Yeah.
And then you could decide to buy it if you didn't want to send it back.
Yeah.
So you could do that through their website. There was also no...
or you could just not send it back.
yeah, true. Yeah. See what they do about it,
Sorry.
Well, I don't know if they charge your credit card or how
they'd have all your
how it kind of works.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm sure they had a plan.
I don't think you can pay for things for cash over the internet, but it's not like Blockbuster,
True.
which we will get to. So in the early days, the website actually went down a lot.
Yeah.
And most of their revenue came from customers actually purchasing the DVDs.
Yeah, okay.
So soon after opening, they signed deals with Sony, HP, and Toshiba to put special offers of free rentals in their DVD players delivered, and then hoping they would get sticky customers through that.
Oh, really?
So they would put the offer in the box for the DVD player.
Oh, wow, so smart.
Yeah.
Here's some things you can watch with your new DVD player.
Yeah, and then they had a couple of free rentals.
That's good.
And so
it's really good.
Yeah, and then you just log in and use the code, obviously, in 1998, Netflix began developing customer profiles with algorithms that suggested the next film based on what they've rented before.
Okay, yeah.
So that kind of
cool.
Customer tracking data was it's a central piece for Netflix today.
Yep.
It's also a central piece for Facebook and Google and everything like that.
Yep.
But at that time, that was a super rare thought, to say, let's come up with an algorithm that suggests the next film based on that film.
Yes.
Same, look at the same director, look at the same actors that were in it, find a match of what they like, what they rent a lot, or they like this genre,
That's really good.
So they decided in late 1998 to stop selling DVDs and direct all traffic to the Netflix store on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
So Amazon made that agreement so that they wouldn't have to compete for DVD sales.
Yeah.
And in March 1999, Netflix had an inventory of 250,000 discs. They had 110 employees and 2,300 titles. So
wow.
And Hastings also, who originally funded the company and co-founded, and the one that owned Pure Atria. He kicked Randolph to be a member of the board, and he took his position as CEO.
Really? Oh, okay.
So
it was interesting enough for him to be CEO.
So he was really part-time in the and he was just coming in and seeing how things were.
This is working. All right.
Now it's time for me to take over. And I've seen interviews. I don't know if it's just because they're supposed to be friends and they're like, this kind of thing. I've seen interviews where, I've seen an interview with Randolph who says we would never have survived until today without him coming and taking it over.
Yeah.
But we would have never have survived the first couple of years without me being the CEO in the start.
Maybe they have different skill sets.
And I actually think that he was more happy with this is our boring idea. Let's just do this boring DVD thing. Let me get it up and running. I'm fine with operating, you know, and then switched it around with Hastings taking over.
Yeah.
So in July 1999, Hastings raised $30 million. So this is the next year. So this is 2 years after they started. Yep. He raised $30 million in new capital from a French investment firm called Groupe Arnault, which is based in Paris, and they do VC and private equity.
Okay.
Now here's so they used that capital to switch their business model around. So they made an unlimited subscription plan for all rentals. They made it $8 a month. Yeah. And that meant that you could have 4 DVDs at a time.
Wow.
That's later on. But you can have I think it was 2 at the start. And $8 a month, and then you send it back, and it sends you your next one in the queue.
Cool.
But here's something that's interesting about the funder, the French investment firm. Do you know who Bernard Arnault is?
No.
So he's actually the richest man in the world at the moment, with a current net worth of $198 billion.
Right now.
Yeah. Oh. So Amazon went doan.
What happened to Jeff? Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, Amazon stock went down.
Really?
He's the owner of LVMH, which is Louis Vuitton, Moët and Hennessy. So LVMH last year raised a massive amount of capital.
Yeah, right.
At zero interest rates essentially.
Yeah.
And because he knew that he could this was all-time lows middle of last year, and that's I think he bought LVMH last year, or at least he bought a bigger stake in it.
Okay.
LVMH is roughly a $300 billion company.
Yeah.
But he's also got a ton of other things from doing private equity and having his own.
Yes.
Obviously, he's been doing this since a very long time.
Yeah.
So he's currently.
And how's he related to this?
So Groupe Arnault, which is his private equity VC firm, invested $30 million.
They're the ones that invested
in Netflix. So obviously he's got Netflix stock as well. This guy, which is part of the reason he's richer than Jeff.
Yeah.
In September 1999, they launched the premium program. That was $16 a month.
Okay.
And meant that there was no late fees ever, and you could rent 4 at a time.
Okay.
So that was their.
And we're still sending physical discs.
And we're still sending physical discs.
And how's it related to Amazon?
So they send people to the Netflix Amazon store for a cut of the of the amount. But I think that Amazon runs that side of it anyway, because they didn't want to compete. Amazon didn't want to compete with them, and they didn't want to compete with Amazon because it was starting to get big.
Yeah.
And so for Netflix to actually break even on each disc, they needed to generate 15 to 20 rentals per disc. Which does seem like a lot for that, but they were doing this whole subscription model thing and getting sticky customers and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So in 1999 they were processing 10,000 orders every day.
Wow.
And they reported $5 million in revenue and made a loss of $29 million.
Oh.
So it's pretty intense, a very large loss for such a small business, like a DVD rental subscription service.
Very large.
So at the same time, Blockbuster was making $4.5 billion in revenue and had 60,000 employees and 8,000 stores.
Wow.
So that's 1999.
Obviously the better investment.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. So in 2000, Netflix invited Blockbuster to invest in them and become partners.
Okay, yep, I've heard about this.
With Netflix doing the internet side of the business and Blockbuster doing the retail side.
Yep.
So the proposal was that Netflix would become Blockbuster .com.
Oh wow, really?
So they were fully willing to sacrifice and just say, hey, you guys are massive.
Yeah.
Come on and let's make a partnership. Yeah. And they got laughed out of the boardroom for thinking that the internet was going to be a bigger than their retail chains. So at the end of 2000, Netflix had made a loss of $57 million.
Wow.
Which is the next year. So they've gone from 29 million loss to 57.
Oh my gosh.
2001 was the price of a DVD player got down to $100.
Okay.
So it's become significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
IPO'd in 2002.
Netflix did?
Yeah.
Oh.
In 2003, they had 1 million subscribers and they made a profit.
Hey, okay.
So that's the start of the kind of turnaround.
Nice.
2004, Blockbuster and Walmart released their own DVD mailing services.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, DVDs, we better get onto this.
True.
6 or 7 years later after...
Have you ever heard of Big Pond?
Big Pond, yes.
That was the Australian one. My dad used to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, used to get little white envelopes, Big Pond on it.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if it... I don't remember what company. I don't know if they had a parent company, but yeah, I used to do that all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
We used to have heaps of discs that were from Big Pond just sitting like it had been there for ages.
I thought that was a Telstra internet provider, but it might be both.
Maybe. See, I had in my mind that it was a Telstra like child company.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It probably is.
They might have bought it.
So so 2004 was when Blockbuster and Walmart released their own service, and Netflix stock fell by 75% because everyone's like Blockbuster, Walmart, Netflix,
they can do it
two
better.
Massive conglomerates.
Yeah.
In 2005, Netflix shipped 1 million DVDs per day.
Okay.
And had
what do you say?
1 million per 1 million per day.
1 million.
Yeah. And it's to individual DVDs.
Yeah.
And
that's a lot.
And Blockbuster and Walmart both dropped out. So
really?
Netflix had 4.2 million users at the time, so they were using it very heavily.
Yeah.
In 2006, Amazon Prime Video launches as Amazon Unbox.
Oh, okay.
And that was
what year? Sorry.
2006.
2006. Okay.
And that was really nothing exciting and nothing like from what I've seen. No good selections. No good.
Oh, really?
Anything like that. Just choose. It's an option to rent, most
and
people just bought.
Still sending physical discs.
And basically you can rent it instead of buying it on the Amazon store.
Yeah.
Except it's not particularly exciting because a lot of people are just like, well, I'll just buy it for.
Yes.
I'll just buy it for 100% more. Like I'll just pay twice as much instead of renting it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
In 2007, Netflix sent out its 1 billionth DVD.
Wow.
And launched its own video-on-demand online streaming service at no additional charge to the subscription.
Really?
And the content available to this is 2007. So the content available to stream was really bad quality because it was really difficult to get rights for expensive content.
It's just the dudes with the handy cams in the movie cinemas.
Yeah, pretty much. No, probably not. I think it was just bad, bad titles.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And not bad, not low quality. Well, it probably was low quality as well, but like 144p. And also in 2007, Hulu launches its launches as a sign-up website, which is being beta tested by NBC Universal News Corporation, Providence Equity Partners, and later in 2009, Walt Disney.
Wow. Okay.
All have a stake in that.
That's huge.
And at the time, though, Hulu was just so the website was just a sign up for our newsletter thing.
Yeah.
But it was launched as a TV channel. So so that's as a separate company TV channel, which is owned by a bunch of companies.
It still exists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, so it's it was the main competitor for Netflix in the early days.
Okay.
So then 2008 came around and Netflix signed a deal with Starz, which is with a Z.
With a Z.
For $20 million.
Okay.
And that gave Netflix the ability to stream Sony and Disney content.
Oh, cool.
So they started getting higher quality stuff on there. They then signed more deals to get apps made on Apple TV, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo.
Yeah.
And then they signed, even still in 2008, deals with Paramount, MGM, and Lionsgate to stream their selected content.
Big couple of years there, hey.
So yeah. Well, that's all in 2008.
Yes.
But
then they started it in 2007, right?
They started it in. Oh, they started
the online streaming.
Yeah, the online streaming
Yeah,
stuff.
that's crazy.
Had really bad content for a year, and then basically, signed a ton of deals.
Crazy.
Got heaps more. We're then skipping over 2009 because nothing happened there.
Okay.
2010, Blockbuster files for bankruptcy. Netflix expands into Canada.
Okay.
And Hulu launches its video on demand service, Hulu Plus, in November 2010.
Yeah.
In 2011, Netflix expands to Latin America and the Caribbean.
Okay.
So 2011 was when Netflix saw licensing content deals becoming more and more expensive.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was when they decided to create their first piece of original Netflix content.
2011.
House of Cards.
No way. That's their first?
Yeah, so...
Oh my gosh.
Netflix,
such a good show.
So yeah, Netflix outbid... It's a very good show,
Yeah.
It's high quality.
Very.
So Netflix outbid HBO for the show by paying for the first 2 seasons up front for $100 million.
Oh, goodness.
And also in 2011, this is the Amazon with the Fire Phone, Jeff Bezos, how he launches the terrible thing. Yeah. So in 2011, Netflix launched Quickster, which is QWICKSTR, so it's spelled with a W.
Yeah.
Which was going back to DVD on demand.
Oh.
Which it lost 800,000 subscribers for.
Wow.
And
wow.
And caused a 60% decline in their stock price.
Oh wow! Again, how volatile.
They shut down Quickster after 1 month because they let it run for 1 month and
that's impressive.
Catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
In 2012, Netflix expanded into Europe.
Yep.
And Amazon Prime Video starts doing streaming and expands internationally.
Okay.
In 2013, House of Cards airs for the first time.
Yep.
And another world first was that House of Cards Season 1 was available all at once.
Yeah.
House of Cards has a score of 8.7 on IMDb, which is almost the highest you can get.
Wow.
If you think about...
What's Star Wars?
Well, there's so many. I don't know. But I know The Godfather is 9.2.
There we go. Okay.
So there you go. But I don't know what other TV shows would be higher than 8.7.
True. Okay.
So that's...
What about Suits?
Well, I don't know.
No, don't look it up. Don't look it up.
No, I'm going to.
Oh no.
Let's make this another 2-hour episode. 8.4.
8.4. Very close.
Suits is very good.
It is. I couldn't think of anything better than those two.
No, well, not as good as House of Cards on 8.7.
No.
So
Kevin Spacey though.
Yeah.
Oof.
What a guy. They
about The Office.
Well, it's not ranked higher, but we will get to The Office.
Perfect.
So don't worry, I'm gonna go through every single show in their category. So they were introducing the concept of binge watching through streaming because they launched the whole season at once.
Yeah.
Okay,
I see.
So after this, Netflix, because people could binge watch, sure, they had to change discs over.
Yeah.
DVD player.
Yes. Or if they were watching like the newest episodes, one would come out every week. And so you can't really binge watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting.
So basically it's got that 15-second delay, and that's all like you're just watching the next thing. Right? It's a lot less now. Originally that was the
it's enough
delay.
time for you to go, no, I probably should go and do something else.
And
but now it's
like,
not.
Oh, now it's running. So it's even more convenient than in a sitcom you'd watch 7 episodes, then you'd get up, change the disc, and then watch the next 7 episodes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I've done 2 discs now. I should really do something else. If you're just really lazy and you're like binge watching that much. After this, Netflix quickly launched Arrested Development, Orange is the New Black, as more original content.
Oh yeah, Orange is the New Black.
There you go. So that was all in 2013.
Okay.
And Blockbuster closes its last store at the end of the year.
Oh, so sad.
So 2013, yeah.
Not really, actually. They laughed at Netflix. That's rude.
Yeah, they laughed at them.
Yeah, serves them right.
Yeah, exactly.
Be interesting to know who those people were.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was doing
research.
Is
there some interviews?
Well, I was doing research, and it was talking about 2008 when the CEO got fired. Okay. Who was the one that had taken all of the offers from had taken all the meetings with Netflix in the past.
Oh wow!
Because I think they'd done more than one meeting as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then he's got fired, and then 2 years later they filed for bankruptcy. So
the
new guy couldn't even.
No.
He's left with a burning house.
Yeah, it's not his
the
fault.
House of Cards fell down.
There it is.
And is clippable content. So there's a real zinger there. 2014, House of Cards got 9 Emmy nominations.
Wow.
And
what's an Emmy? Do you know what an Emmy is?
An Emmy is one of the awards that make up an EGOT, which is Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony. And that is the thing that all actors aspire to achieve. Okay. And you get a big diamond chain with, people made their own EGOT, a big diamond chain thing.
Right, so anyway. there's a bunch of awards, and the idea is to get them all.
Yeah. And so, like, to have a Tony, you have to... So this is why people do stage shows, because you have to have a Broadway show to get a Tony.
Really?
And to get a Emmy, this is an Emmy, so that's the first in the list. Yeah. Oscars, everyone knows what they are. Yeah. And Grammys are like... I don't know if Grammys are a music award.
I thought it was music.
Yeah, so I think Grammys are a music award.
Right.
So the whole idea is to be...
entertainment professional if you can get them all.
So it's like people that are like Jennifer Lopez or I think Hugh Jackman has tried to... He's done a Broadway show and obviously movies and...
does he have music?
Well, it's like the music of...
Oh, yeah.
Like a show.
Okay.
Or like an original... Yeah. It's like original music from, Les Miserables or something. Yes. But obviously that wasn't made by him. But anyway, whatever his show is.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
So in Q4, so the 2014 Q4 users are 54 million.
Wow.
And in
what year are we in?
2014.
2014.
And that's when House of Cards got all the nominations because of the previous years.
Yes.
Yeah, House of Cards. And in 2015, Netflix announces a 7-to-1 stock split.
Oh, yeah.
And Stan launches in Australia. So there's a little local one for you.
Mm-hmm.
2016, Netflix announced international expansion into 130 new territories.
Wow.
And it finished migrating its data servers to Amazon Web Services.
Okay.
So there's everyone uses AWS.
They do.
In the modern world.
Crazy.
That's why they're such a massive company.
So crazy.
In 2017, Netflix are now in 73% of US households.
Wow.
Which is pretty massive.
That is massive.
In 2019, in June, Netflix announces that it'll be removing The Office and Friends. 1st of November, Apple launches Apple TV Plus.
Yep.
12th of November, Disney announces Disney Plus.
Yep.
2020, in April, Peacock launches.
A
streaming service made by NBC.
Yeah.
This is in April 2020, so this is only a year ago.
Yeah.
So a streaming service made by NBC.
Yeah.
It now has 54 million users.
Wow.
And it's got rapid growth because they took back shows like The Office, Parks and Rec, Seinfeld from Netflix, as well as having additional shows that are on the NBC network, like Modern Family, Saturday Night Live, and Law & Order.
Whoa, they have all of that?
Yeah, because they made all of it.
Yeah.
And they were previously just licensing
it
to...
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, Netflix and Hulu and stuff.
Whoa.
So they just took back all of their shows, basically. And then in May, the next month...
Yeah.
HBO Max launches with shows like The Big Bang Theory, Anthony Bourdain, Friends, Game of Thrones, The Sopranos, True Detective.
Whoa.
So they took back Friends. So first of all, The Office gets taken away in April. Yeah. Then Friends gets taken away in May.
Yeah.
And so, Netflix are left with...
there really was a sweet spot in time where there was only like Netflix and one or two others, and they were just licensing everything, right? And you could have one or two streaming services and have everything you could think of.
For sure, yeah.
Now we're living in this time where there's like, 6, 7, 8?
Yeah, because everyone realized it was so late to the party. But we've seen that throughout all of Netflix's history.
Yeah.
Everyone's very late to the party. Yeah. And Netflix gets this sweet spot. Same with Walmart and Blockbuster launching their DVD on demand. Yeah. Like 6 years after Netflix launches the DVD on demand. So in 2021, Apple TV Plus has an estimated 40 million users.
Okay.
However, 62% of them are on... So I'm going from worst to best.
Okay.
62% of them are on a promotional plan, which means they're not paying for it.
Oh, okay.
So that's a little bit of a lame number.
Yep.
Hulu has 41.6 million users.
Yeah.
So they're second worst. Peacock has, which is NBC's service, has 54 million users.
Okay.
Which has grown in a year.
Yeah, that's good.
HBO Max has 54 million users, which is the same as Peacock, which has also grown in even less time.
Yep.
Disney Plus has 116 million users.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime Video has 175 million users.
Oh.
And Netflix has 204 million users.
Wow.
So they've got the lead, but it's very heavy competition.
Yes, it is.
So So that was kind of the timeline.
Okay.
The next thing I'm going to talk about with Netflix is something that's quite clever and quite it was a little bit innovative at the time.
Okay.
I assume that it's not as innovative now because since everyone's heard of it,
Yep.
so everyone can just implement it themselves.
Yes.
But the system for always being up and running, because they almost never have outages,
Yeah.
is called Chaos Monkey.
Okay.
So they actually did have an outage, I think in 2014 in Christmas Eve, and they were like most of the way through migrating to Amazon.
Yep.
And Amazon actually issued the apology for the outage.
Yep.
But the problem is the brand damage is done to Netflix. The brand damage isn't done for Amazon because nobody knows that everyone's using Amazon Web Services.
Correct.
So it's just some very small press conference, I assume,
Yeah.
that no one's watching
Yeah.
that Amazon puts out. And then Netflix gets all the brand damage for Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Netflix going out.
Yeah.
People are trying to watch their Christmas movies or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I believe that's the last time that they've had a
2014.
major outage.
Wow.
So Chaos Monkey is a randomized system that causes breakdowns in infrastructure, network, and applications.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept here is that most software companies simply follow short deadlines with their high expectations.
Yeah.
And once the project is finished, they move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Whereas this system, it assumes that breakdowns are inevitable.
Yeah.
And so it randomly kills random instances of software so that Netflix can always be up and running, so that like it'll randomly, something that I hadn't thought of, it'll just kill that. And then it's like, well, now you haven't thought of it, now it's killed. Did you have a backup? Did you have a redundancy?
Mm-hmm.
How
Creates lots of little small problems.
Mm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And then that forces the company to constantly optimize.
So they have like
fix all
teams
these
of
problems.
developers that are consistently
Really?
fixing the
and they
problems.
don't have to think of things that might go wrong. They just have to react to little things that are going wrong because of this thing called Chaos Monkey.
Chaos Monkey.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically, imagine a monkey in your engine or whatever,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
whacking stuff, and then you got to keep getting out and fixing it. But yeah, so that's you didn't have a second engine. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, that's it.
That's it.
The working culture is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got unlimited vacation. Their
Really?
hours aren't clocked in or clocked out.
Whoa.
It doesn't matter to them like when you work, and
Yep.
the whole idea there is inspiration over supervision. That's their kind of motto around that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's got a pretty cool working culture, I think. Yeah. It's definitely, they want people to be responsible. So they basically said, hey, we don't like clock in, like we don't look at when you're arriving at work.
Yeah.
So why would we look at if you've worked 48 weeks or 50 weeks or that kind of thing. Yeah. And so then also the CEO said something like that, which is what's his name? Hastings. He's Reed Hastings.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said that we don't set, it was a very assumed thing. It was like we don't set the dress code at the company.
Yeah.
And people don't show up naked. So his whole thing is that we don't set the vacation and when you can,
and people will still come to work,
and people will still come to work because it's all about responsibility. It's all about if you feel responsible for an issue, you're gonna work hard at it. So yeah, it's I guess it's a lot of that's about hiring the right people and it seems it's pretty cool though. I like the concept.
I like it too.
Yeah,
obviously if you're not achieving the task that you're required to achieve, that's probably what they more require. Yeah.
And
KPIs.
if you're taking 12 weeks of holiday every year, then you're obviously not supposed to be there. Like you're obviously not doing any work. So I don't know.
They'll just keep lumping you with more and more work, and then
and they're like, well, you're not.
You can keep farming it out to your virtual assistants.
Yeah, true. Yeah, would be great. That would be a good way to do it. So some other stats about the company. They've now got 9,400 employees.
Okay.
So they're still quite lightweight compared to... So at in 2000, I mentioned that Blockbuster had 60,000 employees.
Yeah, that's right.
When they were making $4.5 billion. Their US library contains 3,600 movies and 1,800 shows.
Yeah.
And The Office is the most streamed show on Netflix with 57 billion minutes.
So it is on Netflix?
It was on Netflix.
Oh, and it's still the most streamed?
It's still the most streamed show.
How much?
57 billion minutes.
57 billion.
So, yeah. And it was removed in 2020, which, basically means it still hasn't been beaten for most viewed thing, which is why Peacock is so successful.
Yes.
because obviously they've taken the most viewed
That's
show.
insane.
So I think people just watch it over and over and over again.
Yeah. No, they do, yeah.
Just continuously watch the same like
What do you mean people? You do.
I don't
Surely
watch
you do.
I don't watch The Office. Well, I didn't watch it more than once.
Oh, okay. I do.
You've what? I mean, I would, but like I wouldn't be watching it, 20 times.
True. Not like Seinfeld.
Yeah, not like Seinfeld. Seinfeld's great. So at the peak of the virus lockdowns last year, Netflix used an average of 9.6 gigabytes of data per day per user.
Oh, wow.
So so that's pretty massive.
That is a lot.
That's a lot of data.
You wouldn't want to be like tethering that off your phone.
No, that's like, I'm assuming like 9.6 gigabytes. It's got to be like 4.5 hours of content or something like that.
It'd be a lot, yeah. I mean, it's if you're watching like the 4K, do they do 4K?
True, yeah. I think so.
If it's at least like high definition stuff, which it all is, like,
yeah,
I guess it's a lot. I don't know.
So shared accounts, 18% of users share with a friend.
Oh, yeah.
9% share with a family member of a different household.
Yeah.
26% share with a relative. Yeah. And 48% don't share.
Oh, really?
So so that was a funny fact. More than half do share. Then it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's always one of those things. It's like, originally I think it was very much a hope they don't share with their friends thing.
Yeah.
Now they're clearly they know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously they can't get popular by saying, well, don't share your account.
No.
Because that's just really uncool. Like, and they want to be actually a popular product.
Yes. That's just find sneaky ways to not let you.
Yeah. So they know that people are, sharing accounts. Yeah. And their usage of streaming minutes. Mm-hmm. So streaming platform Netflix has 34% of streaming. YouTube has 20% of streaming. Hulu has 11%. This is in the US for streaming minutes versus their rivals in Q2 2020.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime was 8%, Disney Plus was 4%, and other was 23%.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, they got a third of streaming that's in 2020. But yeah,
which is the largest.
Yeah, and so Netflix is the largest. Yeah.
Bigger than YouTube.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah. Wow. Even though YouTube's like stated claim for usage, because I didn't mention that before, is 2 billion people. Yeah. Which compared to Netflix is 204 million. But it's like those people aren't paying to use YouTube.
No.
Yeah, that's not how many paid users they've got. So it doesn't really matter.
It's true.
They're onto their financials.
Yep.
So this is kind of the bull side of it. Okay. The 2020 revenue was $25 billion, which was an increase of 24% from 2019.
Nice.
And an increase in 183% since 2016. Yep. So it made $8.8 billion in 2016, and it's done pretty well in the last 4 years. Okay. Earnings this year were $2.7 billion, which is up 48%.
Whoa.
So that's a big yes from me, because they're growing earnings at twice the speed they're growing revenue. Yeah. So that shows that they're still scalable. Mm-hmm. Like, as they make every new dollar that they're making in revenue, they're growing earnings by even more. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
And of their 203,600,000 members. Yep. 189 million of them are paying members.
Oh, okay.
So primarily they've got paid. They've only got a couple of people on. So like 5% of them are promotional, I guess. So like 5% of them are like first free month, that kind of thing. So they're really into their stride of paying customers, which is good. Yeah. My bear case, my negative points about it are that they've only got an 11% profit margin. Mm-hmm. That's not great, but it is like profitable. Yeah. So that's better than making a loss. It's true. And it is showing some meaningful growth around the earnings and the revenue. Yes. So that's not bad either. Yeah. The average monthly recurring revenue per paying customer is $10.91, which is $130 per year. Mm-hmm. So that's only just up from their $10.82, which is the previous year's monthly figure. Yeah. So it's there's not a lot of room to grow revenue per customer, which is a huge negative, I think. Yeah. You can't just add more spend per customer, because if you up the rates, people don't like that. You know, if you up your prices. Yeah. So the only way to increase is from acquiring new customers. Yep. And 37% of all of Netflix's customer complaints are from price hikes. So
yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? Because if your main source of growth is through customer acquisition, as you're saying,
then you're already the biggest.
And you're already massive, and you've already potentially reached the cheapest customers to acquire. Like, surely customers become more and more expensive.
Yeah.
As you start to delve into the people who are less inclined to maybe sign up or need more coercing or whatever. And so I guess it ruins the bottom line, potentially.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So return on assets was 7%, which is pretty bad for a big tech company.
Yeah.
That's well into its stride. And return on equity was 24%, which isn't bad.
Okay.
In terms of price movement, so their current price is $515.92.
Okay.
In the last year, it's grown 7% from $482.
Really?
So I think that a lot of the expectation was priced in 1 year ago, which is, August 2020. So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
They already knew that everyone was at home sitting around. So I guess a lot of that was priced in.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years, though, it's grown 438%. Yeah. From its price of $95.
Yeah.
And all time, it's grown 42,500% from its, this is in today's terms, post-split price of $1.21 in 2002. Yeah. So yeah, obviously, if you bought it for $1.21 in 2002, you would have been absolutely killing it. But a lot of ups and downs along the way. But $515 is quite a significant share price.
That's good, yeah.
42,000%, which is great. Its current market cap is $228 billion, which means that its PE ratio is 53. So that's obviously not great. Their Netflix gaming division. So I mentioned this last week. So they're launching Netflix gaming, and I think that'll be a way to beat the competition.
Why did you mention this last week?
I mentioned it because it was like a news.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, little quick bit of news.
Okay.
So there's very little information about it, but Mike Verdu has been hired as their VP of gaming.
Oh, okay.
And he used to be senior VP at EA Games, and he was a VP of
EA Sports.
Challenge everything.
It's in the game.
Oh, yeah. It's two different catchphrases, but that's all right.
Challenge everything.
We're doing ASMR now. Maybe it's EA Games Challenge Everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm confused now.
I was pretty confident before you said that.
I'm not confused. It's the right catchphrase. I got it right. No, it is. It's in the game as well, though. So they've got two different ones.
Okay.
We'll agree to disagree. So he was a senior VP at EA Games, and then he was most recently a VP of augmented reality and virtual reality content at Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So that's interesting. So he's worked in big tech and in gaming.
That thing where he was driving around in the car.
Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah,
that was the worst piece of content ever. I hope he got fired and this is his new job. No, I'm sure he only produced the good stuff. If you don't know what we're talking about,
You'll have to get a clip.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg was in...
You'll have it saved somewhere.
Yeah. He was in it was like Puerto Rico after they flooded, after they had a hurricane.
Something.
And no, it was Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And,
something similar to that.
Yeah. Way to throw me off. Yeah, and he's basically on the roof of a car with his assistant, and he's like, "Wow,
virtually.
look at how
he's not
good."
Actually.
Yeah, and he's a little emoji guy is on the roof, and he's like, "Wow, look at how amazing the VR technicality is." And it's like there's people cleaning up their houses after the whole house washing away.
Yeah.
And it's just like a super incest. It is known as like proof that Mark Zuckerberg's a lizard person because he clearly has no emotions. Because he's like, wow, look at how good my product
he's just
is.
Having fun
In the middle of Puerto Rico,
or wherever it was.
Yeah, wherever it was. Yeah. So what we do know is that apparently they're not building their own console.
No. Were we expecting that?
Well, no, but
okay.
But I've seen a statement
that would have been crazy if they were building their own console.
Well, it would have been pretty cool.
Wow. I didn't even consider that they would do that.
Well, yeah, but they could. They could if they wanted to.
Yeah, I suppose.
If they really want to. They've already got... One thing that's cool is they've now got, like, compared with how they used to be, they've now got animation, talent, voice acting, production skills all, like, on staff. Yeah. As well as the platform to distribute. So that's a big plus. And they're not looking to offer it at any additional charge. So
okay, cool.
there's very limited information about it, but it will be a cool one to watch.
No additional charge.
Like no
Yet.
Yeah.
That's how they make more money.
Yeah, so we don't really know.
Secondary paywalls where it's like, actually, if you want,
Yeah.
if you want the rest of our games, you have to pay an extra blah, blah, blah.
Let you play the first chapter
Yeah,
and then you get it.
That's how they're going to make more revenue per customer.
Yeah. So the conclusion is that NBC realized they had the most streamed show ever, The Office, and they decided to distribute it themselves.
Yep.
And in 1 year, they've got 25% of Netflix's subscribers.
Oh.
Like essentially, they've got 25% of the number of
Yeah.
so 54 million or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very competitive environment, which is becoming even more difficult for Netflix.
Yeah.
I think it's good that they can make their own content now, because if they couldn't do that, they'd be dead in the water. Like they would have no hope. It's great that they're making more and more content and coming into their stride with that.
Yeah.
I think it's probably it's still challenging. Like they're a production studio and they're and they're making TV shows, movies, and mini limited series as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
I would say it's interesting how. So when we're comparing, when you were comparing, what's NBC's thing again? Peacock.
Yeah.
To Netflix, and you were saying 25%. It's interesting how really, to a certain extent, each of the platforms isn't like mutually exclusive in regards to...
you can definitely have multiple signups.
Yeah, your content just needs to be good. It doesn't actually have to be better than the next company's content, It just has to be good enough that keeps you on that platform as well as other ones.
Yeah.
So it's interesting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you just... Eventually, at some point, you might decide, I'll drop one of these, I won't drop one of these.
Exactly.
Or you might just keep all of them. So,
yeah.
They aren't mutually exclusive.
No.
Yeah.
Do you own it?
I don't own it, but I'll just wrap up anyway. I don't own it. I won't be owning it.
Right.
But
it's not really. It doesn't feel like a growth stock to me.
No, I feel like it's very mature.
Yeah.
Especially since, because I didn't know that it'd been around since 1997.
Yeah.
Like I just assumed.
And IPO'd in like 2003 or something.
2002. Yeah. So I just assumed that.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah. I just assumed that it kind of came out in 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
Because I guess we got it. We literally got it in like 2012 or 2013.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah.
Interesting.
Australia was a bit behind. So yeah, bearish. No, not bearish. I just wouldn't own it.
Just boring.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking about crypto, and I was looking at some new projects that people have been working on, and there's one that I thought would be interesting to talk about, not for any particular reason other than they're doing a couple of things differently, and I thought it would just be an interesting conversation. So this company is called Everrise.
Everrise.
Yep. So it's Ever.
It's like the boxing gloves. That's Everlast, I think.
Everlast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's like that. It's Everrise. And so the mission for this company is to provide a platform with DApp tools and education.
Isn't that what the kids are doing on TikTok these days? No, that's dabbing. Sorry.
I don't think that's even what they're doing these days. I think that's what they did like 2 years ago. On the tick.
On the tick. On the tok.
So provide a platform with DApp tools and education to give investors control over their DeFi, and empowering visionaries and developers to earn their investors' trust. So let's break that down a bit. So
and that's the system is called DApp?
No. Let me explain what so a DApp is a decentralized application. So it's like a category of thing.
Right. Okay.
So to provide a platform with DApp tools would be like saying decentralized application tools.
Yeah.
And so I'll explain what some of those DApps are in a moment. So I'll tell you more about the team itself. All right. So there's 12 team members, and there's a term that I'd never heard before, which is called doxing or doxed.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of this?
I haven't heard of it, no.
Okay. It's so doxed means, or to dox or to be doxing means, and it's actually, I don't think it's a exclusively online thing.
Right.
It basically means to show your personality after hiding it for a while. That's not a very well worded definition, but the idea is there's all these developers who are making content and stuff like that, making applications and making crypto and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't show their identity. They make up a fake name and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they dox when they like come out on YouTube, stream or something and show their identity, show their face and their actual name. So there's a few of their team who haven't doxed yet. It's such a nerdy term, but it's funny.
It's very geeky to be like, oh yeah, I'm super private because I don't want the government to know where I live.
Yeah, it's like I'm like watching interviews with some of these team members, and they're all just like, it's just the logo of the company, and it's just like moving when they're talking. But all the other interviewers have got their cameras on, but they won't show their faces.
Yeah,
and you don't even know the names of some of them. So the CEO and the head developer, his name's Titan.
Oh my gosh!
And he hasn't doxed, but
how are you supposed to trust a company that isn't?
So
I know it's decentralized. And
no, so it's a good question. No, it is a good question, and this particular structure does lead to a few of those questions, which we'll get into.
Yeah,
but I suppose one thing that I learned in this research is that there are companies that certify and do external certification for these projects. So there's a company called Certic, and one of their main things, they have a side of their business called Certic Shield where you can insure your crypto assets for like if they come under attack and someone steals them or whatever, you can take out insurance with this company. But the other side of the company is they actually go in and do like, you know how like, a company has like EY come in and they look at all their documents and say, the actual revenue figures are correct. Otherwise you could say, well, Netflix said that they made this much revenue this year, but who knows if they actually did.
Yeah.
The only way you know that is because, they've been approved and certified by this company. Well, apparently these crypto projects have the same thing.
So they've got their own kind of auditor.
Yeah, so it's the auditing company called Certic, and a second one, which I've got written down here in a minute, who have audited the plan, and they give a scales for all of these factors. Like they're all really technical terms, but like all of the factors that make up a well written, safe crypto project, and they'll just give you scores on all of those things, and so you can go on and read them online for this particular project and others. So I guess that's how you can have some level of trust, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I agree. It is strange. But anyway, so he's going to come out at the end of the month anyway on a live YouTube stream and undox.
Come out as himself.
Or dox. So
it's not like being gay, is it?
No.
I'm a real person.
A few other notable staff members is the community marketing leader. His name's Justin Tyler, and they call him Lord TJ. And he's actually a country music artist with, but he's not very successful in my opinion. He's only got 35,000 monthly listeners, which is like pretty average. But it's very random. He's like they described him as like a crypto enthusiast, and he's obviously just the face of it.
It's more listeners than HQLA.
It's true, but we're very exclusive.
We are very exclusive. Join the club today. Subscribe.
They have a crypto consultant. His name's Marco, and he was previously the business director at Certic Shield, which is the insurance arm of that company that I was mentioning before. And they've got a bunch of other members. We've talked before about the ratio of technical development team versus marketing team when it comes to these projects. And I'd say it's not a favorable mix from our perspective. There's probably 2 or 3 technical team members in the 12 member team.
Oh, really?
The rest of them are all like, I'll read out some names, like branding consultant, marketing operations, project manager, creative content lead, visual media and content producer, staff manager, community marketing manager. So like there's a lot of like... content creation, marketing, media, community people, which is obviously you do need. But I think from the community that what I could tell from trying to jump into the community for a bit, the CEO, Titan, is really like, he's like almost like this God figure in the community.
Yeah.
And so it's like kind of like he's had this like crazy idea and has his crazy development skills, and all he needs is a marketing team to market his product.
Right, yeah.
That's kind of the vibe that I was getting.
Yeah.
It's not like a ground up form team. It's like he had this idea, and then I don't know how it originated, but that's my take. So I'll talk a bit more about the coin. So the coin is called Rise, RISE, and you cannot buy this on a centralized exchange. So you can't buy this on Coinbase or Binance or anything like that. you have to buy it on these random decentralized exchanges, also known as DEX. And so that would be like, there's one called PancakeSwap, for example.
Yeah.
So you can buy it on there.
Yeah.
Or trade it on there.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about PancakeSwap.
Well, that could lead into a good segment in later days.
Yeah, up 0.33. There you go.
That's correct. Now,
can you read out that price there?
Yeah, I'll get to it in a sec.
All right, sorry, yeah. There's not one ticker.
No, obviously there's a few projects with the same ticker.
Yeah.
Which is pretty stupid, but anyway. Well, Rise is obviously a popular name. See next to the market cap, it's got the little exclamation mark.
Next to, yes.
That's
an
interesting thing. That it shows you how I don't know, small this project is.
Yeah.
That's not even a verified figure, and it's actually not correct. I looked at a live interview yesterday, and I'll give you the actual market cap, and that's not correct.
Right. Because it says here the CMC team, which is CoinMarketCap, have not verified the project's market cap.
Yeah.
However, according to the project, its self-reported CS is, I don't know, I can't read that number, with a self-reported market cap of 37.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's interesting, hey? I'll give you some figures that are actually correct from the company as of yesterday afternoon, as opposed to third hand or second hand.
Yep.
So Rise, the currency, it provides a currency for the ecosystem. I'll get a bit more into this as we go along, so just bear with me. But basically, it's on the Binance Smart Chain. So Binance have their own chain, blockchain, in the same way that Ethereum is a chain, and people put all different tokens on Ethereum, and then the currency for that particular chain is Ether. BSC, or Binance Smart Chain, you can also put a bunch of different tokens and stuff on that. This token is called Rise. And when you create a new token, you can set how many decimal points it can have. And so this one can have 9 decimal points. So, as it'll become evident in a second, the current price of this coin is $7.34 to the minus 8.
Okay.
That's the only way I can say it, which also looks like 0.00000007342.
Yeah. They made too many.
Well, yeah. So they've made a quadrillion tokens.
Yeah. See, that's why.
So the all-time high, I'll talk about it in just dollar terms here, but note every figure that I give you is to the minus 8. So the current price is $2.71 to the minus 8. Sorry, $7.34 to the minus 8. All-time low, which was in June 2021, which was the project. Oh, hang on here. I did have it written down. When did the launch? Hang on. Here we go. So pre-sale for the actual coin. So the first day that it was sold was on June 16th, and then on June 21 was the all-time low to date, which was 271, and then all-time high is 1086. So we're currently sitting at 734. So we're kind of in the upper half of the priced, scale that it's been on. And just to put it in perspective, if you bought $500 of Rise right now,
yeah,
and the price increased to 1 cent,
yes,
I will say no. If the price increased, if the price increased to 1 cent,
yeah,
you'd have just under $70 million.
Yeah. Silly denominations. That's what that is.
So the market cap. Market cap as of yesterday, from the words of the community manager on a live YouTube stream, is 52 million Australian dollars.
Okay.
And Nano is 1.7 billion. ADA, which is Cardano, is 92 billion. And then Bitcoin, for example, right now is 1.2 trillion. So we've crossed back over the $1 trillion mark. Remember we talked about this the other day? Right. It was 900.
Yeah, so about 60,000 Australian dollars at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Which is had a good little run.
In the last week, I've bought Nano and
did
ADA.
You? Oh, nice.
So yes, I was very late to the party, but also
Well, it's fine. Yeah, you've probably got them cheaper than I bought them at.
Well, got to keep in mind.
I was faced with a funny problem where Bitcoin was all of a sudden like $80,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to have a whole. I didn't have a whole, but I basically had a whole Bitcoin. It was like 9 point something. 0.9 or whatever.
Big baller.
No.
And then you sold it at 35.
No. And so I was like, I should diversify this a bit. And so I, towards the peak, diversified into Ethereum, Cardano, Nano.
Yeah. And they were also all towards the peak.
And so they all kind of dipped and then they're all peaking. So like, maybe there's some better way of doing it, but in my mind, it is what it is. Like you could sell it and buy less when it was at the low, but then yes, it would look better in the figures for say Nano, for example, but I wouldn't have ever bought as much of it because I wouldn't have had as much money. So anyway.
Yeah.
So for example, the market cap, Nano's 23 times, Cardano is 1,700 and change times, and Bitcoin is 23,000 times the market cap.
Yep.
Just to put it in perspective. So we talked about supply, so it's got a quadrillion coins, but the current supply is only a bit over 790 billion coins, and that's not because there's more to be created. That's because they burn the coins.
One of these ones.
Yeah, so they've burnt from about, I can't get the exact figure because again, it's a bit hard to find, but they've burnt anywhere between 21 and 23% of the coins have been burnt to date.
Wow.
Which is a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so how do they do that?
Exactly. How do they do that?
Well, let's talk about it. So we'll talk about fees first. So fees for transactions are 11%, which is quite high.
What is this scam called?
We talked about Nano the other week, and it was 0.
Yeah.
So very different kind of project. And purpose of this project is completely different to Nano, which you'll see in a minute. So 2% of that 11%, 2%, is static reflection rewards. So that's a fancy term, and all that means is anyone who owns the currency at the time of a transaction gets a very small portion, weighted as to how much you have, of the 2% transaction fee.
Yeah.
Then there's the 3%, which goes towards project sustainability and development.
Okay.
That's a total of 5%. And then 6% is towards their buyback scheme. Okay. And so this is the first ever crypto to have a buyback scheme.
Okay.
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Right? And so you'd know buybacks from the stock market, right? I feel like we even talked about this the other week where we were talking about how they do it.
Yes.
Can't remember what company it was. Do you remember we talked about that?
Yeah, AMD.
AMD,
yeah.
Right. We're talking about how they buy back stock.
Yeah.
And so included in a term called tokenomics. No. Yeah. Tokenomics, I think is how you're supposed to say it.
Tokenomics.
Yeah. So included in the tokenomics of this particular currency is the fact that the fact that they buy back and burn the crypto. And so what does tokenomics mean? Well, the definition is the topic of understanding the supply and demand characteristics of a cryptocurrency. So it's basically like economics, but for tokens, which are cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. There's a book, when I looked it up, there's a book called Tokenomics, The Crypto Shift of Blockchains, ICOs, and Tokens.
Oh, there you go.
So maybe that's where it comes from.
Could be. And so, let's say, for example, like a traditional economist, they look at the M1 money supply and the M2. And I looked at what they were so that we could get a definition for everybody. And so M1 supply is the country's basic money supply, which is that's the stuff that's used as a medium of exchange, like demand deposit accounts where I can just kind of like pay for stuff very quickly, and checking accounts, stuff like that, right?
Yes.
And then M2 includes all of that money in addition to near money, so like savings accounts and money market securities, so very short-term debt market securities, and maybe mutual funds and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And so then economists use the M2 supply, which just includes M1, and they basically try to judge whether or not they can see elements of inflation within the system. So whatever that figure is, if that M2 money supply is increasing and increasing and increasing, that basically means what you own is becoming less scarce. And so that's where we see inflation, and we see the price of goods and services increasing in respect to the value of or our buying power with the money that we have, because we're getting like the price is becoming inflated.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah, an M3 supply.
Oh yeah, I didn't look at M3.
Is M3 supply is the the balance sheet of every bank.
Oh, okay.
And basically M3 tells you every piece of money.
Because it includes
in
M2
the
and
country.
M1, right?
Well, no, because
no.
the balance sheet of a bank
It
will
already
tell
does.
you every piece of money in the country.
Yeah,
so
right.
yeah, that's
True.
that's basically. So if you take all the balance sheets of all the banks
Mhm.
and add them all up,
Yeah.
then that's all of the money in the country.
Oh, and that's M3.
So yeah, because the balance sheets of the banks have all those deposits. They've got all of the loans that people have done, and they've also got the so that tells you how much money is out there given to people, but it also tells you how much money people have to spend, you know, in their deposit accounts.
Yeah.
But it also tells you money market stuff. It tells you which bonds are, you know, it basically tells you how much value is in bonds, how much value is in stock.
Yeah.
Because every stock, every bond, every short-term security and everything like that have to have been purchased by someone at some point, and some cash has changed hands. So yeah, basically it tells you the whole value of all of the money in the country.
Interesting.
So yeah,
There you go. That's good. And so, as I said, economists are looking for like elements of inflation, and they'll adjust their monetary policy accordingly. And so, moving on from that, in crypto, in a lot of these crypto tokens, they've got preset like algorithmic issuance schedules. And so you've seen like Bitcoin, for example, they have a max supply of like 21 million Bitcoin or something like that. 20 million. I think it's 21 million. And that process of mining those Bitcoins is supposed to finish in like 2140, or whatever you call it, 2140.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
We've never been that high yet.
Yeah, that'll do.
And then every 4 years...
What, so like another 120 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So it's just going to get that hard that it'll...
Yes.
That, right, okay.
So every 4 years, as I was saying, every 4 years...
I just assumed it'd be like in 10 years because of how good
yeah,
computers and stuff will get.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like right now, the rewards are 6.25 Bitcoin per block.
Yeah.
That's mined. And then every 4 years, which is in 2024, that's halved. So it becomes 3 and 1.25.
Yeah.
Bitcoins for every block that's mined.
Yeah.
And so, computers will become more complicated and more complex and able to solve things quicker. But that just means they get large amounts. Like they can get a higher hash rate, which gets them larger amounts of whatever that pool is. But if the pool's only 3 point something Bitcoins, that's the max they can get.
Yeah.
So then, I guess, I mean, this is a bit off topic, but then for those Bitcoin mining companies, the price of Bitcoin has to reflect, it has to increase because they're getting less and less and less stuff. You know, every 4 years, they're getting half as much as they would have.
And if it doesn't increase, they just mine something else.
Exactly.
It's not going to,
because it's not paying off for them.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting to see how it plays out. So anyway, moving on. So that's an example of on certain allocated algorithmic periods issuing new of that particular currency, and that's Bitcoin. But conversely to that, the buyback process is what Everrise have decided to incorporate. And so, as I said, they're claiming to be the first ever, but there's been a bunch of others who have included that technology or tokenomics into their coins. And so the process is called the Kraken.
The Kraken.
Yep. Yeah. Initially, I was really confused because I was looking in some of their chat forums and everyone's talking about Kraken. And I thought, there's an exchange called Kraken as well.
Oh, yeah, true.
And so I was thinking, why is everyone talking about this particular exchange? But I don't think it's related. I don't know what Kraken means. Maybe it means something that's related to them.
Tentacle arms.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, you've seen Pirates of the Caribbean?
Not really.
There's a big tentacly arm monster, and it comes and takes all the people off the...
that's called Kraken, is it?
Yeah, it's the Kraken.
Okay. So it's okay.
I think it's like an ancient Greek monster that is huge. It's a gigantic octopus that can swallow ships and stuff like that.
Okay, right. That makes more sense. So basically, the way this works is... the 6% buyback transaction fee that I said, so there was a 2% that goes towards Reflections, which is handed out to all the people who have crypto at that point, or that particular coin. 3% goes towards development of the paying staff and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then 6% goes towards this buyback. So what happens is once the account that takes this 6% on every transaction, initially it happened on every sell. No, sorry, that's not right. It happens on every buy and every sell. And so all this 6% keeps coming into this wallet. And once the wallet gets to 50 billion Rise, then it sells or transfers and buys BNB, which is the Binance coin.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's held in this Binance wallet, which is called the Kraken Strategic Reserves.
Okay.
And so it was, yeah, I think maybe it was the fact that this thing was becoming quite large, this account was becoming quite large, that maybe they termed it the Kraken. I don't know.
Right.
Sounds like it could work to your suggestion there. And so, okay, so 6% goes into the strategic buyback account. Once there's 50 billion Rise in that account, it transfers it to BNB, which is the Binance coin. And then once, so it's held in this account, which has the Binance coin in it. And that's called the Kraken Strategic Reserves account. And so talking a little bit more about Binance. So BNB is issued by Binance, and it was originally on the Ethereum chain. But then Binance created their own it's called Binance Smart Chain, and so they put the BNB onto their chain, and then they have a max number of tokens as well, which is 200 million, and they also employ a kind of similar burning scheme, which I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So every quarter, Binance uses a fifth of its profits, and they repurchase and burn coins. Which is, I think, really interesting.
Yeah.
And so to show market cap for BNB, it's actually the third in rank. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then BNB, which is actually really similar to Cardano, so Cardano is 92 billion.
Yeah.
And BNB is 93 billion.
Yeah.
So
right.
I'm sure maybe whenever this comes out, it might have
around.
switched. But
yeah.
So it's interesting. So they've now got this wallet, which has got a bunch of BNB in it. And initially, it was coded into the smart contract that this is where I got confused a second ago. After every sell, it would automatically purchase a set amount of Rise from the open market, taken into this account, which is called the burn account or whatever, and no one has access to the account. And so it's now not able to be accessed.
Yeah. And which part of the fee is that?
6%.
6%. Right. So that's in their buyback.
No. Sorry, it's not related. That's where I got confused. The 6% funds this account.
Right.
And then that account literally just goes into the open market after a sell in an unrelated transaction.
Yeah.
And buys in some sort of proportion to whatever the sell was.
Yeah.
Whatever they've figured out. Buys some Rise in the open market.
Yeah.
Which goes into a wallet which is burnt.
Yeah.
So the idea is, imagine there's a big sale which pushes the price down.
Yeah.
They go then and do a buy.
Yeah.
And the idea is it pushes it back up to some extent.
So it sounds like, to me, and this is probably going to offend all of the,
Careful what you say.
Everrise fanboys, but it feels purposely fraudulent.
Okay.
Like
no,
it feels
I agree.
as though...
Well, you wait. It sounds more in a second.
Okay, great. It sounds like our thing is actually not worth much, and we know it's not worth much, and that's why we've got 6% of every transaction, which has to force the price back up because we're kind of bad.
Okay.
And we can't let a free market decide.
Not sure how diplomatic that was, but
yeah.
Appreciate your honest response.
Well, no, you're the one giving the segment. Yeah. Separate my thoughts from his.
No, so the problem there was they got hit by a bot attack, and it was starting to drain this account. I don't know the manner in which it did it, but they had to put a stop on it. And so right now, the way it works is Titan controls the function himself.
Yeah.
Or herself. And they implement the buyback function as the Reserve Bank would to try and control almost their crypto monetary policy.
Yeah.
To try and keep it at the inflation rate that they think it should be at, or keep it at the price that they should be at.
Yeah, yeah.
So you think that was dodgy? That's a little bit more dodgy.
Well, it's cool that they're playing central bank. That's a kind of cool little concept.
Yes.
It's like a little introduction to economics for people that like crypto and
yes.
Yeah.
So I thought at this point it would be good to try and bring some objective perspective as to why. So when we looked at Nano, the purpose of Nano was to create a currency that was free of transactions fees, so that you could transfer between people even small sums of money, and it was really quick and lightweight.
Yeah.
this particular project is not along those lines at all.
Yeah.
The particular project is not a capital investment project where you're supposed to buy it and see it go up in price. It's not necessarily trying to be a speculative investment. It's the coin itself is just a medium of exchange for these dApps that I'm about to go into. So I think at that point, whilst it does sound very strange that they're trying to influence the price artificially, I think the purpose of that is just to bring stability to the whole ecosystem where the apps are operating. Because imagine if this currency is underlying your ability to function with these apps in their ecosystem, and the price of the currency is just going crazy, it's not going to be a usable currency. In the same way that if, the whole thing where it's like, if I'm using Bitcoin to go to the shops and Bitcoin goes up and down on my way to the shops and now I've got half as much as I thought I did, I can't buy what I wanted to buy.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to mitigate that problem. So in saying that, let's talk about the dApps.
dApps, yes.
So as I said, dApps are short for decentralized applications. And the first dApp from Everrise is going to be launching at the end of this month. So take into account that about a month ago, they pre-sold their coin. It's now on, I think, PancakeSwap and a few other DEX, decentralized exchanges for you to trade. Excuse me. But at the end of this month, as I said, Titan's going to come out and dox.
Yeah.
And when he does that, he's going to launch the first dApp. And so, so the plan is for their dApps to be cross-chain compatible. So what that means is, yes, it'll roll out on the Binance Smart Chain with these smart contracts, which are basically what their dApps are. But then it'll allow ERC20 tokens to use the dApps. Now, what are ERC20 tokens?
What are ERC20 tokens?
So that is the type of tokens that are able to be created and the standardization of the tokens on the Ethereum network. Okay? So on the Binance Smart Chain, they use BEP20 as a standard. On the Ethereum network, they use ERC20. Okay? So what that means is it's called, I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. It's called Ethereum Request for Comment is what ERC stands for, and then 20 is just the project number.
It feels like a patent pending, like, you know when you get a product and it's got patent pending written on the side.
True.
It feels like Ethereum Request for Comment. It just feels like they haven't named it yet.
It's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so, so they're saying that tokens that exist on the Ethereum blockchain could potentially also be used on the dApps software. So they'll create some sort of cross-chain compatibility between the two. And so let's just talk a little bit about ERC20 because I think it would be interesting to understand what it means a little bit more. I thought it was. So
okay, yeah.
I'll just share it a little bit. And so ERC20 are the tokens. It's a standard way of creating tokens on the Ethereum network. And obviously the native currency on the Ethereum network is Ether.
Yep.
And so so basically tokens are created by use of smart contracts. And so this smart contract is responsible for the creation of the token, but then handling transactions and keeping track of balances. And so to get a token, you send ETH or Ether. And so the contract gives you the token in exchange. So let's say, I don't know what my token is, but I could create a token called Nathan token.
Yeah.
And you could go and buy it, and you'd buy it with with Ether, on the Ethereum chain, and then you'd be given my token or whatever token is on that network. But the problem with creating tokens is that once a smart contract is deployed, it can't be taken back. And so if you deploy a smart contract and there's something wrong with it and it stops working, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
You don't have control over it anymore. And so that's an important point that we should come back to in a minute. And so the other problem is the word that you love, interoperability.
Interoperability.
Which is how the tokens interact with each other. Imagine people create all these different tokens on this network, and they're all functioning in a different way, and there's no standardization. And so to have the two tokens be able to talk to each other, you need to create some sort of interface in between, which creates more code. And so the community proposed a standard, right?
Yeah.
And the standard was called ERC20, and it was like a set of guidelines for the creation of tokens on this network. So there's 3 optional guidelines and 6 mandatory guidelines. The first optional guideline is token name, second is symbol, and the third is decimal supported. So like I said, RISE has 9 decimals. It's implemented into the code. And then the 6 mandatory guidelines is total supply, which is a method that defines the total supply. And then balance of, which is a method that takes into account how many tokens each given address has. So it has to be able to determine that. The next one's called transfer, which is number 3, which takes from those in supply and gives to a user. And so say there's a bunch in supply and someone wants to buy one, it's the function that allows it to give it to the user. Transfer from is transferring between one user to another user in the secondary market. And approve verifies that a contract can give a certain amount of tokens to a user, keeping in mind the total supply. So with transfer, if we're transferring from supply to a given user, it then also uses the approve function to verify that the total supply can handle the purchase that initial user wanted to purchase. And then the 6th one is called allowance, which verifies that one user has enough balance to supply a certain token or coin to another user.
And those are the 6 factors that have to be met under the ERC20, so that
yes,
so that people know how coins can interact.
Exactly.
If they're making a new coin on Ethereum.
Exactly right. So now they've almost got like a template.
That's the summary. That's the
exactly.
Yeah.
They've got like a template. That's a good summary. And so now, exactly right, we can have multiple coins, and they've all got the same like dot point heading functions.
Yeah.
And they can talk to each other.
Yeah. And you thought I wasn't listening. There you go.
You're getting pretty glazy.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was putting the chair down.
Wake up.
I was just thinking about it. Yeah.
Okay, so the benefit of ERC20 is it allows an exchange like Binance, for example, to automatically accept any token that's using the ERC20 standard.
Yeah.
And so, whereas previously, in the initial stages of crypto or whatever, people are making their own tokens using whatever template they want. Every time you want to add a new token to the exchange, you have to create code between each token for them to be able to interact.
Yeah.
Now they automatically do. So it's kind of cool. So remember I said one of the problems with creating like a smart contract is once you deploy it or you like renounce your ownership of it,
you can't
change it, right? Yeah. But the reason that people do that is that you can put it into practice, but you can still hold ownership of it. But the reason that people or projects renounce the contract is because once it's renounced, you now can't go in and make back-end changes.
Yeah.
Like it's the code's just running, and you've now sealed off the back end.
Yeah.
You don't have control over it. And so that builds trust into the community because it's now decentralized. There's no central body able to control it.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is you can't make adjustments.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the first dApp that Everrise decided to create, and it's actually the founding idea of Everrise. So remember, the idea of Everrise wasn't to create a nano-style token.
Yeah.
It was for this idea. And it's actually a really cool idea. So the founding idea of Everrise was so that developers can renounce contracts to Everown. So Everown is a dApp, which is obviously some sort of smart contract in itself.
Yeah.
And Everown will basically hold the contract until the developer wants to reclaim it for some sort of improvement or, maintenance or repairs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then once attempting to reclaim, all those who hold the native token of that contract, in the community, they can then decide whether or not the developer can reclaim it back.
So this is interesting because it sounds a lot like Everown is a professional trustee company for crypto. So because a professional trustee or whatever manages a trust on behalf of someone else so that they can keep things arm's length. So it sounds a lot like a developer will want to do a deal with someone else to buy a company or something. And then they decide to use Everown to handle the contract to do the smart contract between both parties. And it sounds a lot like Everown is kind of like the professional trustee that like looks after the contract for them. Although it almost sounds like they're taking away the point of the smart contract as well.
Yes.
So it holds onto it. It doesn't manage it. It holds onto it.
Correct. It just holds onto it, and I think maybe that example isn't quite right. So when I was watching this live stream, and one of the interviewers asked if it was like a governance token.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether a governance token might be similar to what you're talking about, because they said it's kind of not the same. I guess in this situation, it's more like, imagine I create NanoCoin, and then I want everyone to trust it and use it as a decentralized token. And so I think it's pretty good. And so I put it out into the world, and I essentially renounce it, but ownership of the contract and like the key to the back end of the smart contract or the code is sitting with Everown, which is a trusted body or whatever. I guess that it needs to be trusted is the key.
Yeah.
If they can't build that trust, there's no point. And then, as you're saying, then anyone who owns Nano has to vote me yes or no as to whether or not I can get the key back.
Yeah.
If I want to do... So then I'd have to tell them what I want to do to make the changes and stuff like that. So I think it's cool. I think that's the problem that they're trying to solve.
Yeah.
And so everything around the Everown product is just auxiliary to creating this particular dApp called Everown. And so the other cool thing about it is if someone dies... they can also they can stipulate a second owner. And so it doesn't have to be just one particular person. They can also select a second person who can then try to reclaim, go through the same process. And so I think it's pretty cool. They've said that there's already a market there. So there's already projects who've approached them saying, we want to use this service for our upcoming tokens or smart contracts or whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And the way they would make money from it is they charge a fee they were saying on the call that I was watching yesterday that it would be somewhere between 5 and 15 BNB to the project for them to use that service. And they would also require the developers of that project to hold RAIs throughout the process. They don't know how much. That might be probably negotiated contract to contract. But that's basically how they would make revenue from that.
Yeah, cool.
So I think it's kind of cool. And then I'll just touch on a couple of other projects, a couple of other dApps. One of them is called EverWallet, which is like an additional password. So you can get decentralized wallets. So one's called MetaMask, another one's called Trust Wallet. And basically, they're the ones where, you know how with, what's that? BitClout. So BitClout.
BitClout, yeah.
Right. So the password for BitClout is like that long phrase.
Yeah, yeah.
These have the same thing. So MetaMask, for example, just gives you a phrase. But if someone hacks in and gets that phrase, then they've got access to all of your crypto.
It's normally called like the seed phrase.
Seed phrase, yeah. That's right. That's what it's called. And so EverWallet are just able to slap a secondary password on top of that. So basically, before you can access or interact with any of the crypto in that wallet, if they steal the seed phrase, for example, there's still a secondary password that you have to find.
And does it work like two-factor authentication?
Yeah, I think it's quite similar to
that. It changes as you...
I don't know if it dynamically changes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if they even know that yet. These dApps that are going to come out in the future.
Who knows what they're doing?
Everswap.
No, I'm sure it's very good.
Yes. So Everswap is this function that I, again, don't quite understand, but the idea is you've got these decentralized wallets that are external to an exchange. And with Everswap, they want you to be able to buy and sell just using the wallet instead of having to transfer the currency or the crypto into an exchange and then do your transaction and, transfer back out. Always keep it in the wallet and just somehow using their system transfer using Everswap.
Yeah.
Don't know how it works. It only works with dexes such as PancakeSwap and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a real DApp yet. They haven't created it. That's just in their plan.
Yeah.
And then Eversale is another one that apparently when projects are trying to create new tokens or whatever, and they have a bunch of liquidity that they want to lock away somewhere safe. So like instead of, again, it's a trust. It's trying to create trust again. And so the idea is they'll take ownership of that liquidity throughout the process of the project, and they use that. They do that in another thing called Everlock, which takes control of the liquidity. Anyway, it is what it is. Again, these are really far down in the pipeline from what I could see. The key things to note: Rise is the currency. It's a buyback currency. The way they do that is they buy it back using BNB and then they burn it.
Yeah.
And the big founding principle or founding idea of the company is what's it called? Everown, and they're trying to solve the problem of of coders renouncing their smart contracts and not being able to get back control of them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that's the whole idea of the project, from what I can see. And that Everown DApp is going to be announced at the end of the month with Titan, who's going to dox.
Yes.
On YouTube.
On YouTube. Excellent.
So that's my summation of that ramble. Hopefully some people found it interesting.
Are you bullish or bearish?
It's a good question.
You going to buy any?
Maybe.
Do you own any?
I don't own any. Okay. I think I might buy some.
Is it more just for the experiment, or are you buying it seriously? Okay.
It's for the experiment.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I think I might buy hundreds of dollars. So maybe $500.
Okay.
So maybe buy $500 worth of this, because it would be fun to try PancakeSwap.
Yeah, true, yes.
And it would be fun to try a decentralized wallet, because I don't have one of those either.
Yeah.
So I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably use MetaMask, which is a decentralized wallet.
Yeah.
And I'll probably buy it on PancakeSwap.
Yeah.
And then put it in MetaMask.
Yeah.
And then, if it goes up, it goes up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Obviously, it's got to leap over the 11% transaction fee before I make any money. And then I sell it, it's probably another 11%.
Yeah.
So 22% transaction fee. So it has to go up a fair bit. So it'll just be sit it in there and we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah. So this, does it come under so using like PancakeSwap and a decentralized wallet and all that stuff, does that come under the concept of DeFi? Like, is that decentralized finance?
I believe this is all decentralized finance.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about.
And it's because it's always been a super fascinating concept where a lot of the times people take margin loans on their Ethereum. And then buy more Ethereum with their margin loan.
Yes.
And if it goes down by a certain percent, then they're completely screwed because it just takes it from them.
Yep.
But they literally get loans at 8% or something like that, something ridiculous. And then it doesn't matter to them because they make 250% because they're all on margin, leave it up. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with that.
Yeah, so I think I might have a go at it. And at some point maybe I'll check back in.
You'll have to let us know how it goes.
We'll talk about how it goes.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Alrighty. Can do a little transition sound.
All right, we're back. You can eat your bicky in the thing. What, you can't not be in it. You should just eat it. It's funny.
Just start going.
Okay.
I'll eat it while.
And you should definitely try and talk a lot. And eat really close to the mic. No, just eat it normally, but close.
Can you hear that? It's like ASMR. Baby.
Mate, I'll have a field day with that. All right, enough silliness.
Tight shot, yep.
Oh my God.
All right, off you go.
Okay. So, the Lamborghini Countach LPI 800-4. Yep. 24 hours ago, this was revealed in the US. I'm not quite sure exactly where. That's my bad. And it has been 50 years of Countach, and so they're bringing it back. So, in 1971, the Countach was originally launched in the Geneva Motor Show, which is pretty cool. And so this is a modern interpretation of the original car. So the main things are the design elements, obviously. and the layout and engine. So the layout has scissor doors, which is pretty cool.
A classic.
Yes, and they say from onwards, every V12 that they make is going to have scissor doors. I don't know how many V12s they're going to make. But
just one.
Yeah.
Speaking of the scissor doors,
Tell me.
there's a photo of. So there's in The Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio is like, super high and all that kind of thing. He falls down the stairs and he tries to get into his Lamborghini Countach.
Oh yeah.
And he's got a white Countach.
Yeah.
So there's a little spoof photo. I'll throw it up in the video.
Okay.
Of Leo trying to get into the new Countach. Like it's
really?
someone's edited it to be the new one.
True.
And because it's funny because he's laying on the ground trying to open the door with his shoes. So yeah, that's.
right.
But yeah, anyway, we'll throw that one in there.
True. I like it. So the name Countach is apparently not the name of a fighting bull, as a lot of the Lambos are, but it's actually an Italian dialect, means beautiful or a surprising quality.
Ah.
Yeah. And
I think you're very Countach today, Nathan.
Oh, thank you.
And I mean that in a surprising way.
You have a surprising quality. So Lamborghini Countach. LPI stands for, when you write things down and then you go to say them, like what I always do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, I did that the other week, but I tried to cover it, but it looked really bad when I looked at the recording.
Well, I'll just own it. It's called, so LPI stands for longitudinal. I can do that. Longitudinal posteriore, probably ore. Longitudinal posteriore ibridio.
Okay.
And that means longitudinal hybrid rear.
Okay, no, what I was talking about was I just didn't write the next bit down.
Oh.
So like I said, this word means, and then I didn't write down what it meant. You didn't seem to notice though, so I think I got away with it.
It's obviously had some confidence.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe just say it more confidently and we'll be good. We'll use that take.
So LPI1 stands for longitudinal posteriore ibriore audio.
Perfect. We nailed it.
Okay, so they're selling only 112 units, which is the same units quantity as the original car. And
they only made 112 original Countaches.
Yeah, apparently.
Cool.
Yeah. And the engine is a V12 6.5 litre longitudinal naturally aspirated engine. And it's going to produce 802 horsepower.
Wow.
720 newton meters of torque, which is pretty good. And it does have an electric motor, which is included in that horsepower figure, which gives it 34 horsepower and 35 newton meters of torque, which doesn't seem like much, but from what I could see, there's not a lot of reviews on this yet because it's only just got released yesterday. And so the idea of the electric motor is that it only works during shifting and as a boost. So keeping in mind this engine's naturally aspirated, so no turbo, no supercharger. My assumption, and there was one comment that Lamborghini made where they said one of the ideas of the electric motor is to make it feel like it has even more torque than a V12 engine would have. So I think when you shift, when you put your foot down, it's an auto, so there's no hands movements. When you shift, I think it just gives you like a boosted feeling straight out of at low RPM to try and then obviously as the RPMs get higher, the natural aspirated V12 takes on most of the power.
Yeah.
That's my assumption. So the transmission, as I said, it's a 7-speed auto. And the characteristics of how it operates depends on the drive mode that you use. As with most of these supercars, it's electronically controlled all-wheel drive.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I don't know if I assume the Countach was just rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
In its time, I assume that's probably what it was, but I could definitely be wrong. It's got like a rear mechanical self-locking diff as well, which is good for that grip on the track.
I'm sure they would have fixed a lot of the issues that the
original
original Countach had.
I'm sure they didn't just give it all the problems that the old Countach had.
Because it had like, from like clips and stuff that I've seen, it had the pedals were too close together.
Yes. I have seen.
It was always impossible to reverse.
So I don't think they tried to bring all the inherent problems that the original car had.
Yeah, probably not.
So yeah, I think you were saying that like some of them were, the pedals were too close to each other.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And so that's my assumption. In regards to some of the performance figures, maximum speed is 355 kilometers an hour, which seems quite fast. Never really think much of the maximum speed figure.
You don't really need to worry about.
I don't know. I feel like on Top Gear they always used to recite it. It's like I don't care. Like 0 to 100. Yeah. But max speed, like who's ever going to get to that?
Yeah. You're on the track doing 250 and doing 280 are the same thing. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So 0 to 100, 2.8 seconds.
Yeah.
Very fast.
Yeah.
To put that in perspective, the Huracan Evo, which is the top of the line Huracan, does 0 to 100 in 2.9 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's faster than that. It does 0 to 100 in 8.6 seconds. Which just
0 to 100 miles an hour?
Oh, I said 100, 200.
You 0 to 200.
Yeah, 0 to 200 in 8.6 seconds.
Yeah, wow.
So that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
And braking does from 100 to 0 in 30 meters. So that seems like it's pretty short, but hard to know. The body or the chassis is a carbon fiber monocoque, which is pretty standard. Like a lot of the Lotuses are aluminium monocoque. It has aluminium front and rear frames that connect to that monocoque, and the body itself is all carbon fiber, which is pretty special.
Yeah.
So that all leads to being a pretty light car. So 800 or so horsepower is pretty good, but not crazy in today's world. But the fact that it's only about 1,600 kilos means that's going to be very fast. And so that's where you get the 2.8, 0 to 100 figure from, I think. I don't know if you remember when we went to Sydney, we went to an event called World Time Attack, and there was a Countach there. You remember that?
Yes. Right? Yeah, the black one.
Right.
Yeah.
And which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it looks
probably
so
one of
cool.
the most amazing car experiences that I've seen in Australia. I'll say that.
The tyres were like 375 or something, or 385.
Exactly right. So they were something crazy. These ones are 355, which is still pretty big for a tyre.
Yeah.
But I do remember just being absolutely amazed standing behind the car. You've kind of got like, there's the left tyre, there's the right tyre, and there's almost the same amount of space in the middle, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's very much like the Batmobile of the...
yes.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like a steamroller with a little bit in between.
Yeah.
And so the distribution in regards to weight is 4357. So I assume that's 57% at the rear.
At the back, yeah.
And then a few features inside. It's got like an 8.4-inch touchscreen, which has got CarPlay in it and stuff like that. So it's not like it's not pretending to be old.
Yeah.
And it has this button called, I assume you say the word style, but it's spelled STILE.
Okay.
Stile, maybe. And when you press the button, it explains the Countach design philosophy to its privileged audience.
So you press the button and it explains.
Yeah.
Explains the philosophy.
I assume it all comes up on the screen and does a little,
it's
demo.
Like demo button.
Yeah.
It seems funny.
Yeah. Well, when your friends are like, "Oh, tell me about your car," you just press the button.
You don't have to do anything. You just press it.
So that's all I've really got. It's what I should talk about, and I could send you the video, is on the Lamborghini website. If you go to it, it's got a few things. Oh, let's do this. Okay, let me show you this.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It has a audio clip of the car, and we can get a better version of this and overlay it.
Yeah.
Have a listen to this. Oh, it's
Yes. So that sounds sick.
so sick.
And also, I want to know what an 8D sound experience is.
Yeah, I had headphones on. It's just they just move it around a bit.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah,
8 dimension.
The only other thing that I'll mention is if you go to the website, on the right-hand side, there's an augmented reality QR code.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Get your camera out on your phone, scan that. It'll take you to the website again. Click augmented reality demo or whatever it is. Might just say augmented reality. Click that. Takes you to a site, and you can just see like an image of the car. Click on the car, and then just kind of like place your camera or face your camera where you want your new Lamborghini Countach.
Yeah.
Move it around a little bit, and it rocks up, and I'll show you this video. Right now, you can probably see it actually.
We'll put it over the video, yeah.
There'll be a video right now of me doing it in a street near my house. And you can walk around the car. You can actually get in the car and have a look, and it's actually really cool. So
yeah, very nice.
Very impressive. Tell us about your philosophical journey that you've been on.
My philosophical journey.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's pretty cool. I'm going over here because I was going to read it off Twitter, but I'm actually going to read it off out of here now. So lately I've been reading this book. It's called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant.
What's almanac mean? Is that a word?
Almanac is a word which means... actually, you know what? I'm going to look up the actual definition. I do know what it means, but...
Were you about to do that thing?
I was about to do that thing, yeah. Yeah. An almanac is an annual publication listing of a set of current information on one or multiple subjects. So an almanac is essentially, here we go, like the Old Farmer's Almanac is a trusted source for long-range weather forecasts, moon phases, full dates. So that's essentially almanac means it's the dictionary of that person. Like it's what their current thoughts are, that kind of thing. Okay. So it's actually not by him. It's by another guy, and he has compiled every interview and tweet and every piece of information, everything that this guy's said. Naval. Yeah. Because he's like that much of an influential figure. Yeah. He doesn't have time to write his own book, you know. And so then he's actually categorized it in certain areas. So first half of the book is about building wealth. The second half of the book is about building happiness. Mm-hmm. And it's actually he's actually got really good kind of life info.
Wow, you've read a lot of it.
So he did, yeah. So I've read a lot of it since I started a couple of days ago.
Yeah, you're almost halfway.
Almost halfway through. Here we go. He's got a segment. He's got a tweet storm that he did. Yeah. It's got like a really good philosophy for how to think about wealth and how to build those skills and that kind of thing. Okay. So it's called How to Get Rich Without Getting Lucky. Yeah. So it says, seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. And status is your place in the social hierarchy.
Oh, that's a great phrase already.
So yeah, it's a great start. Yeah. Understand ethical wealth creation is possible. If you secretly despise wealth, it'll elude you. So this is something that I've often found people these days really hate Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and that kind of thing. Yeah. Well, a lot of them do, and a lot of them don't really care that much, or they do, or they like them.
There's some outspoken people who do.
Yeah, some definitely outspoken people. Yeah. So understanding that ethical wealth creation is possible. Yeah, it's good. And categorizing wealth as something that makes money while you sleep. Yeah. You know, something that's powerful. Yeah. I think that that's a really good way to kind of look at it. Mm-hmm. And and so wealth will always elude you if you're despising it.
Yeah, essentially. That's a really good point. So like, I was thinking about this recently as well, where you know how there's some people and they kind of hate authority, or they hate like the social constructs of our system right now. They don't like, they don't want to submit to a certain authority, or maybe even like in their day-to-day world, they don't want to submit to a boss or whatever. Yeah. And I kind of feel like people who despise that, in the same way they despise wealth, I think my perspective, you can take two sides to it. My perspective is like, if to have someone in authority means that like I can now aspire towards having some sort of authority, or some sort of influence.
For sure, yeah.
And so for me, it's actually like a motivating factor. Even if I don't like the person in that position, the fact that position exists in our world means that there's an opportunity for me to also acquire that sort of influence or authority. In the same way, people who don't like wealth, they're not wealthy, they can't pay their bills, and then Jeff Bezos is building a mega yacht and whatever. Go to space, right? Yeah. But again, I don't look at it like, here's a comparison of my life versus his. It's like, imagine if there was no incentive in regards to like, imagine if we lived in a fully communistic world where doesn't matter how much you do. You can never aspire to that.
You can never get your own yacht, and you can never have your own.
Or you can never be financially independent. Or you can never, give gifts of huge sizes to charity or whatever. Yeah. And so again, in the same way that leaders look down upon because you don't like authority, same with wealth for me. Like
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
No, I agree. That's good. And it often, so with this tweet storm as well, it links in each idea with the next one as well. So the next one is ignore people playing status games. They gain status by attacking people playing wealth creation games. So that means that people that are trying to grow status and grow, they're trying to look cool.
Yep.
Are the ones that are attacking people that are actually building the wealth.
Yes.
So it makes them look good for them to attack other people.
Yes.
You're not going to get, this one's really good, you're not going to get rich renting out your time.
Yeah.
You must own equity, a piece of a business to gain your financial freedom.
Yeah. And that's something that should be taught at school, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Although maybe it shouldn't, because then everyone would. But like, and that's a controversial topic.
Well, it's not taught at school because teachers don't own pieces of business.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're content with their life, but they don't know that you can.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't think, I need to own a piece of a business.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like on that point, if you don't mind, I feel like I am sometimes torn when sometimes I get offered, could you come and help me with this thing because you've got some certain skills that are helpful and we'll pay you X amount of dollars. And so a few times where people have offered me that, if the amount of money isn't really interesting, in my opinion, I find it more interesting just to do it voluntarily.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's I guess at this point it's like I don't want to, I don't want to rent it. Like I think my time is worth more than that or whatever, and so I'm going to choose just to volunteer and do this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're never going to make wealth renting.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So, you will get rich by giving society what it wants, but doesn't know how to get at scale.
Oh yeah! Wow.
So there's
Apple does that.
There's something cool. There you go.
Don't they?
Yeah.
You know, they just tell you need AirPods. You're like, I didn't realize I needed AirPods, but I do.
Yeah, and now people spend $450 on
a watch like this.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know I needed this.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do.
Yeah, for sure. Pick an industry where you can play long-term games with long-term people.
Okay.
So that one's a long-term investment mindset that he's definitely got.
Yeah.
The internet has massively broadened the possible space of careers. Most people haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
So even today, he thinks that the people still aren't making the most of the internet.
Wow.
Play iterated games. All returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest. So that's a cool one. Pick business partners with high intelligence, energy, and above all, integrity.
Yeah, right. That's cool. He's a very integral, ethical guy by the sounds of it.
So he actually talks about this later on in the book a lot as well.
Yeah.
He said that, he basically talks about each one of these points in like long form.
Yeah.
And so it's really good. This is right at the start of the book where it's kind of outlining his philosophy.
Yeah.
And so that one's really good because he talks about this business partner that he was working with for a number of years, and the business partner essentially, they were another VC, so he's like a VC basically, which is venture capitalist, so they invest in small businesses.
Yeah.
And so he was talking about this other VC guy who handed a lot of deals his way.
Yeah.
And what this VC did was he would often cover large one-off expenses that the companies were having because he had invested in this company and he had told Naval to invest in this company, and this company suddenly had a big issue. This guy would go and pay for that issue.
Really?
Because it was his integrity. He was recommending this company.
Yeah.
He had it was this big thing that came up.
Yeah.
Later on, Naval kind of discovered that he was doing this.
Yeah.
And so then he started doing the same thing when he was handing deals the other way.
Oh, wow.
So basically, they were covering off on each other's angel investments and VC investments.
Yeah.
Because they want their name to be, like, they want to build a really long-term beneficial partnership. And now they've made hundreds of millions off each other because of that.
Could I also sell something recent about that as well? I've told you this story as well, but I think it's cool because it's a bit more down to earth level. I was talking to so my dad has some family friends, or my parents have family friends, and they owned an accounting firm, and I think it was a reasonable size, and basically the guy was the one running it in the family, and he retired and sold the firm. And then, so I guess my assumption is like, this guy must be doing all right, like accounting, so don't understand to deal with money.
Yeah.
It's a firm employing people, so he's probably sold it for something. Like, this is good. Hopefully he's retiring off that money and, can have a nice holiday and buy a house or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. And so then a few months went by, and then maybe even a year later, I was in a conversation with my dad, and he was telling me that this guy was looking for a house with his family, and they had a budget, and I thought the budget was quite low. And then because the housing market, particularly at the moment in the last year or so, has been crazy where we live in Newcastle, in this area. And so they ended up buying this house, which was pretty cheap. And then to try and make it affordable, they also had their extended family come and move in with them and stuff like that. These people are older.
Yeah.
And I was this doesn't make sense in my brain. Like, shouldn't this guy be able to go and buy a nice apartment in town and just enjoy the rest of his life?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I said that to my dad. I said, what's the go? Why is he living like this when in my brain he should be living like this? He said, well, he similar to what you're saying, he recommended this investment to a couple of his business buddies years ago, and they all invested, and the investment went really south.
Yeah, yeah.
And so because of his name and his integrity, he told himself that he would pay them back.
Yeah, wow.
And so when he sold the business, he paid them back, and he didn't really have any money.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? It's definitely a unique way to live life, but it's definitely very high integrity, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if taking it that far is tricky, because you're also saying these are the risks of you investing in
I totally
this
agree.
other thing.
I totally agree. I don't know what the circumstances around it were.
Yeah, it's make your own decisions. I think, maybe if it's his own thing, then it makes more sense. I don't know. But that's tricky.
Lots of accountable.
Onto the next one from that. It's don't partner with cynics and pessimists. Their beliefs are self-fulfilling.
Yeah.
So that really follows onto the pick partners with high intelligence, integrity, energy.
Yeah.
And then it's saying exclude partners that are cynical and pessimistic.
I think it also runs off the whole, if you're critical of wealth or whatever that initial one was.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If you're cynical about wealthy people,
yeah,
it's self-fulfilling.
They all tie in really well, I think.
They do, yeah.
Learn to sell, learn to build. If you can do both, you'll be unstoppable.
Yeah.
So that's quite cool. Arm yourself with specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage.
Okay.
So, and then it goes into those actually. So specific knowledge is knowledge you can't be trained for.
Yeah.
If society can train you, it can train someone else and replace you.
Yeah, it's good.
Specific knowledge is found by pursuing your genuine curiosity and passion rather than whatever's hot right now.
Yeah.
Building specific knowledge will feel like play, but will look like work to others.
Yeah.
And when specific knowledge is taught, it's taught through apprenticeships, not schools.
Yeah.
Specific knowledge is often highly technical or creative and can't be outsourced or automated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it says specific knowledge can't be is often highly technical or creative. It can't be outsourced or automated.
Yes.
And then embrace accountability and take business risks under your own name. Society will reward you with responsibility, equity, and leverage.
Yeah, right.
So he's very much into...
Which comes back down to integrity and stuff as well.
He's very much about doing things under your own name.
Yeah.
He said don't do some kind of pseudonym or...
Yeah.
We were talking about crypto before.
Yeah, doctoring.
Don't... If you're hiding yourself, then you're hiding,
Yeah.
You're ashamed of, other stuff.
Yeah.
And you're also not letting people trust you.
Yes.
So
that's right. And I suppose in today's world, trust is a commodity that's highly valuable because a lot of people don't operate like that. You just see fronts for a lot of things. And so, I'd say that's true. If you knew that he operated in this way and then was starting a new business, you'd be inclined to invest or be a part of it because you know it's integral.
For sure. And you're also building a personal brand.
Yes.
And you're building a personal brand of integrity. So and people want to meet you.
Yeah.
Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand and I'll move the earth, Archimedes. So that's one of the Greek gods that said that.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool. So that's about leverage. So he moves on to that leverage phase next.
Yes. Okay.
Fortunes require leverage. Business leverage comes from capital, people, and products with no marginal cost of replication.
Oh, yeah.
Code and media. That's so he's saying that's what they are.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because he's got a degree in economics as well as computer science.
Yeah.
And he believes that there's all those there's the capital, there's, traditional monetary capital as well as the machinery and equipment and then there's land.
Yeah.
But he also believes different types of leverage are code and media.
Yeah.
So capital means money. To raise money, also goes into that. Mm-hmm. To raise money, apply your specific knowledge with accountability and show resulting good judgment. So he's saying that like people will trust you with more capital.
Yeah.
Labour means people working for you. It's the oldest and most fought over form of leverage. Labour leverage will impress your parents, but don't waste your life chasing after it.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you run a firm with 20 people, then all of the oldies are like, oh, this guy's successful.
Yeah, for sure.
It's an old form.
Yeah, so and he also later on he talks about how like Labour is actually just really tough. Like it's like the toughest thing because you have to manage people.
Yeah.
And managing people, and also he's in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
If you're in Silicon Valley, it costs $400,000 to hire someone good, you know,
Oh,
and it's like
it's very true.
So it's like also the most expensive form, you know.
It's expensive, inefficient.
Yeah.
Time consuming.
Capital and labour are permissioned leverage. Everyone is chasing capital, but someone has to give it to you. Mm-hmm. Everyone's trying to lead, but someone has to follow you. Mm-hmm. Code and media are permissionless leverage.
Yeah.
So they're the leverage behind the newly rich. You can create software and media that works for you while you sleep. An army of robots is freely available. It's just packed in data centers for heat and space efficiency. Use it. If you can't code, write books and blogs, record videos and podcasts.
Yeah.
That's a funny one right here.
Why is that funny?
Well, I can't code. And we're talking on a podcast.
Yeah. Continue.
So leverage is a force multiplier of your judgment. That's an interesting one.
What is it?
A force multiplier.
What was the full sentence?
Leverage is a force multiplier for your judgment.
Yeah, right.
So you make judgments.
Yeah.
And leverage is all of those capital, labor, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying that, as you make a judgment, leverage is applied to your decisions, which is really cool.
It is cool, but it also daunting potentially.
Definitely.
You need to be making good judgments.
Yeah, so it's definitely then it obviously goes on. Judgment requires experience, but can be built faster with learning foundational skills.
Okay.
So yeah, there's no skill called business. Avoid business magazines and business classes. That one's kind of funny.
Interesting. Didn't you do business classes?
Yeah. Well, it also says study microeconomics, game theory, psychology, persuasion, ethics, mathematics, and computers. So
yeah, true.
He's got a certain specific knowledge of what he thinks is important.
Yeah.
Reading is faster than listening. Doing is faster than watching.
Yeah.
You should be. This is heaps funny. You should be too busy to do coffee while keeping an uncluttered calendar.
Interesting.
He's also, he's got a full. So here we go. It'll go into that next. Okay. So I'll explain this and then I'll go into it.
Right.
Set and enforce an aspirational personal hourly rate. If fixing a problem will save you less than your hourly rate, ignore it.
Yeah.
If outsourcing a task will cost you less than your hourly rate, outsource it.
This is a great concept.
I really like that concept.
Yes.
So it is quite cool. So he has in his mind when he was a junior engineer, he had an aspirational hourly rate of $5,000 an hour.
Yeah.
Which meant paying someone to mow his lawn, paying someone to do his laundry, paying someone to do everything.
Yeah.
Didn't matter to him because he had this rate in his mind where he was building stuff that was, going to make so much more. And then he got to a point where now he has made if you look backwards on that, his real rate of what he's returned is $10,000 an hour or something
if you divide it by those hours that he used.
Yeah.
Because he paid someone to mow the lawn.
So it literally worked out like that.
But I would say that I think it's a risky way to do it.
Yeah.
Because you're also, in the more classical wealth building books, you're doing the opposite of what they tell you.
It says to be frugal,
It says to be frugal, particularly in your younger years, so that you can compound on genuinely large sums of money. But that's not going to happen if you're outsourcing all this.
Definitely.
So you would need to be very confident in yourself, in your ability.
And with all wisdom someone passes you on, you have to take it and leave it as you see fit.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. So this next one is work as hard as you can, even though who you work with and what you work on are more important than how hard you work.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Here we go. The next one is, if you follow all of it holistically, then that hourly rate thing is not as important, because the next one is become the best in the world at what you do. Keep redefining what you do until this is true.
Yeah.
So if you are the best in the world at what you do, then it doesn't matter if you were frugal with outsourcing and all that kind of thing, because you'll actually hit your aspirational target rate.
Yes. And I would say that whilst that's a good goal, even if you were like 100th in the world at whatever you do, you're probably going to be super successful.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a good aspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
It's also really good I really like the concept of greatness, like working as hard as you can to be the best at your like thing. It's just it's just really,
I think it's
really
quite
good.
Satisfying, right?
Yeah, it's a really good goal to have.
More satisfying. That would be more satisfying than an amount of money that you could make.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're solving problems. I like the idea of solving problems for people in ways that they don't think are possible.
Definitely, yeah. There's no get rich quick schemes. There's just someone getting rich off you.
Oh, so, that's true.
So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, okay. Other than the pokies. It's not the pokies.
That's definitely not a get rich quick scheme.
Sorry. I meant, although this is still a joke, I meant the lotto. I think a couple of days ago, one of the guys at home was telling me that someone in Victoria won all of $80 million Powerball.
Wow. The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Well, I guess that is a get rich quick scheme, but
it's wrong.
It's definitely, I don't know. Definitely don't do that though. Unless you want to.
No,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Apply specific knowledge with leverage, and eventually you'll get what you deserve.
Okay.
Cool. And when you're finally wealthy, you'll realize it wasn't what you were seeking in the first place. But that's for another day.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then summary, productize yourself. And so what that means is, and this is actually cool. He actually dives into that one a bit more.
Okay.
Because he was asked in an interview what that meant.
Yeah.
Productize in yourself. Yourself has uniqueness. Productize has leverage. Yourself has accountability. Productize has specific knowledge. Yourself has specific knowledge in there. So with all of those people, all of those principles, you combine all of those into productize yourself.
Yeah, wow.
So accountability, like credibility,
crazy,
usefulness.
There goes the camera.
What'd you think of that one?
I think it's great. I mean, I think it's really good. I enjoy that style of conversation. I guess we'll just see.
I think he's really, really wise.
Yeah.
So I think that's that's the main takeaway from it. Like I reckon, and like right at the end as well, he's like talking about, he's hinting at how happiness is actually really important. He's hinting at, so like that whole thing is saying, obviously wealth is important.
Yeah.
But he's also saying, hey, happiness is also really important.
Yeah.
Like, So.
Yeah. Very interesting. Does that inspire you?
It inspired me a lot. I think it's actually really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm keen to get into the second half. So I think I'm finished like the wealth kind of half.
Okay.
And I'm really keen to get to the building happiness, because the first half is building wealth and the second half is building happiness.
In a couple of days you'll be done, and then I can read it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
This is the bit where you normally say...
Yeah, I know. I'm scrolling up.
It's been good.
It's the show that's even faster and more cost-effective than a Lamborghini Countach.
Yes, it is.
Goodbye from HQLA, episode 18.
Rum rum.
Brum brum.